Hey folks, good evening. Really great to have you. Really excited to have this conversation. Would love to start with some introductions here, and we'll start with Jesse. So let's sort of introduce yourself and what you do.
Well, my name is Jesse Goplen. I am the CEO of Clink.fm. We are an NFT-based streaming service that has an investment component where you can trade the streaming revenue from the songs, and we want to do something a little different from Audius, where we will offer the full catalog, but of course artists will, be able to sell the streaming revenue from those songs and trade that on the platform.
And I'm Kevin, CEO and co-founder of Pianity. Pianity is an NFT music marketplace where we allow musicians to turn their track into limited editions using NFTs and sell them to their fans. It basically allows them to earn like 10 to 100 times more than what they do on streaming platform.
Fantastic. My name is Sam Brukhman. I'm the artistic director of Verdigris Ensemble and also the creative director of Metaversal. Woo! Yes. My background is actually in classical music. So I originally graduated from a small college in Princeton, New Jersey called Westminster Choir College. It's tiny, about 500 students. I was an early adopter of Bitcoin in 2015, early adopter of Ethereum in 2017. And at first I thought that blockchain application for me as an artist was going to be through governance. If any of you are familiar with Aragon, it's an OG governance platform. We use that with our board of directors. And eventually, in 2020, when all of basically my conducting gigs for orchestras and choirs across the world, or across the United States rather, shut down, I decided to take the leap forward into NFTs. And the first project that we did was called Betty's Notebook. Betty's Notebook is the supposed lost transcripts, or the musical adaptation of the supposed lost transcripts of Amelia Earhart as she was taken off her flight path. And we created an interactive, customizable piece of music that was able to be listened in 82 different ways. It was launched on Async Art in March of 2020, so shout out to Async Art for that. And was purchased by Metapurse for $375,000. This was an incredible life-changing event in the life of Verdigris Ensemble, which was a tiny nonprofit in Dallas, Texas, that essentially in one day generated 3 times the revenue that it had in its operating budget for about 3 years. So this has been an incredible journey and has completely had me hooked on what's going on and where we are with NFTs today. So I want to ask before we get started, this is a very actually interesting panel. I had a conversation with these two because they are creators, they are facilitators of artists like myself. And so I want to ask Jesse or Kevin, whoever wants to go first, like, where are we right now in the lifespan of music NFTs? Are we in the beginning? Are we about to see a huge rise in value? What's happening?
Well, I think we really are at the beginning still, and it's unfortunate a little bit. I think what happened with art, and it took several years for art to take off, but art was kind of, constricted in its growth because when that standard, the ERC 721 standard, that revolutionary moment, when that came out, it didn't have locked content, it didn't have a lot of these things. And art, has a long history of being valuable. It has a long history of people paying a lot of money for an individual work, and music, unfortunately, doesn't have that long history. And when the music NFT came out, a lot of people tried to raise the value of their NFTs by offering other things. And I think the market really hasn't established that there is going to be this huge multi-million-dollar value for just, NFTs in general. And it's unfortunate. And so you see a lot of big-name artists doing drops, doing NFTs, which is awesome, but they're not music, right? They're essentially merch. It'll be a JPEG or, some type of image with music, but it won't really be ownership of the song. And that's also because there are so many legal issues, as Blau was pointing out. And hats off to him for trying to address those issues, because we really need to take those on before we can go forward. Even the most basic issues of clearing copyrights for cover songs. I mean, it's great for a solo musician like me. If I write my own song, I can just do that like an artist can. But the music industry doesn't really work like that. It's a very communal, interoperable thing. There are multiple layers of copyright. And so we need that social evolution to catch up, the legal evolution to catch up with the technological evolution, and it's going to be different from art.
I completely agree with what you said about the fact that today most of the musicians actually release merch and not music. And I think it's a problem, and the angle we took, for example, with Pianity from the start is we are a streaming platform first and not like some kind of online gallery where you can just watch some images. Really took this, what you said, which is you're here to listen to music and not only to watch covers. The second thing you're saying is, I think it's completely right. Music is probably has probably one of the most complicated way to deal with copyrights. Because there are many people who hold them and many layers at different point in time. There are different kind of rights actually. And that's also why I think we decided to simplify everything on Pianity. And for example, you don't own royalties when you buy an NFT like you would have on Royal, because it simplifies basically the equations and it allows any artist to release very fast any kind of NFT from what he's already doing.
And so on that note, one of the things that was really, really powerful for me as a musician to realize, historically, we've really relied on distribution. It was all about how many vinyl records you can sell, how many streams you can get, how many CDs you can distribute. And for the first time in my life, when we started thinking about NFTs, was not only can a musician now distribute, but they can also sell their original. So much like a visual artist, of course, you have prints and you have the original, and for artists, for the first time in history, they can also sell their original. And so what I want to ask, my next question here is, currently, music is fungible in the sense, you can go on Spotify, you can go and you can listen to basically anything you want, and the artist will get a fourth of a cent, I think. Is music fungible, and should it be?
That's a great question. I mean, both of us are here to take on Spotify, and anyone who can do that, is my friend. We're not really competing in this. We're all on the same team here. We're all going to make it. And, thank you.
Woo!
But, yeah, and I mean, it's tough out there for musicians. We all know this. The struggle has been going on for much longer than I've been alive. My father was in Clyde Stubblefield's band, and a lot of people know he never, made a lot of money for all the samples that were used of his music. And so this struggle, I know, has been real for so many people, like Stuart, who was on here, and so many great projects have grown out of it. And we're all going to find our own way to do this, and one of us is going to succeed. And one of us is going to find a new way that the masses really go for. And I think that's the crucial thing. We saw in the music industry NFT success panel earlier, which was great. That was the key to success, they said, was insulating people from the blockchain to get them into the app, to get them using it without having to, figure out this whole new lifestyle that we've got for ourselves here. And
I definitely agree that probably one of the problems of the music industry is the business model of the business industry right now. And as you're saying, Spotify and other streaming platforms consider that one stream is equal to another, whereas I think it shouldn't. And the other problem is streaming platforms capture very little value from the fans, only a few dollars per month per user, which means that in order to earn a few $100s, an artist has to have millions of listeners on these platforms. One way to approach this is to say, let the fans actually put more value. Like let the fan give more value to the artist. And I think the NFT address this problem quite well because an NFT can be sold for $10, but it can also be sold for $10,000. So basically, we are letting the fans decide on the value of the NFT, and it's not like a centralized platform that decides who gets what. And I think doing that, we can allow musicians to actually monetize and live from a few hundred fans and not from a few millions listens by selling, different kind of NFTs from different rarities. So, for example, if you're an artist, you have 100 fans. If every month you sell them NFTs for $10, which is not that expensive, then you can make almost a living out of it, which is impossible on streaming platform. So yeah, I think NFTs are like enable this new business model that captures all the value and actually that allows also the fan to direct that money and to say, okay, I want to give my money to this specific artist and not to a platform that will do the distribution itself.
So Kevin, on that note, tell us how your company works. Tell us about Pianity, everything that we need to know.
So Pianity was born about 6 months ago. I was very interested in the blockchain for a few years, and my co-founder Simon is an electronic music producer, and basically for 3 years he basically lived inside that environment and actually lived the problem of musicians, which is you have to do gigs. You can't make a living out of your tracks anymore, as you would probably be able to do a few years, like 20 years ago. And so we got this idea of allowing the artists to release their NFT. And from the start, what we wanted was not just to release NFT, we wanted the track to be stored on the blockchain. So we took, I think, an angle that not a lot of platforms are doing right now, which is we store everything on Arweave, which means that the storage is permanent. And we can store a track that is 2 minutes long, or a track or like a live set that can be hours long. And basically, we open this scope for artists so that they are not limited by a format, or they are not incentivized to like release really short tracks in order to have more views. So on Pianity, we try to let the artists decide on what they want to release. The second thing we do is we allow the artist to release series of NFTs. So an artist don't have to just release a unique edition or like just a limited edition, because we think the unique edition is a good model that can capture value. However, it leaves a lot of other people, feel like excluded from the model because they can't spend, let's say, $10,000 to acquire a unique edition. So what we do, we allow them to release series of NFTs. So from one track, the artist can release 1 edition, 10 editions, 100, 1,000. And maybe the unique edition will go for thousands of dollars, but the 1,000 editions will probably go for $10. So basically, any fan can come and own a piece, an NFT from his favorite artist. And that actually allows the artist to capture a lot of value from all his fan base, and it allows the largest fans to actually put more value in the artist to support him. And what we've noticed on Pianity is first, the artists, usually when they release a track, they make between 10 and 100 times more than they can make on streaming platform. And second, no one feels excluded because the music is available for free to anyone. So even if you don't want to pay for the NFT, you can just listen to the track and enjoy the music anyway.
Jesse.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. That sounds amazing. I like your idea about the series NFTs. So I was one of the first people to try on YouTube to get people to make music NFTs. Does anybody remember me like yelling at you, saying musicians, you need to make music NFTs? Anybody out there? No? Okay. See, one person? Thank you. Yeah. It didn't work out so well, honestly. I brought in some of the first big names to this space, they had some trouble selling to their own audiences, right? If you didn't have a base already in the crypto space, you know, I think a lot of people were resistant to paying more than 99 cents for a digital copy of music. And so, you know, my whole focus has been what will work. Like, we want to be results driven. We want to be the same way tech companies really have always approached these problems. You got to figure out what the user wants and give them that. Find out what the demand is and do those things. Now, I'm not part of Silicon Valley, but I think we can learn a lot from them. I mean, interoperability. You look at Google and Twitter and Facebook, they are all just like this one, you know, sleek, interoperable, you know, system that works together. And we need to do that in crypto. We need to have all of our platforms integrated. We need to have our revenue and our sharing and everything just working together. And I think that is the key to create an ecosystem. And so what we're trying to do is pretty narrow. We want to stay in our lane and just be a streaming service. We don't want to compete with any of the collectible models out there. And our NFTs will just be utility NFTs that distribute that revenue. And then we'd love to distribute to a service like Royal or any other you know, type of platform that's selling interest in an artist's future.
So a couple of recurring themes that I'm hearing, you know, at Metaversal as the creative director, when we look at music, we sort of talk about, and really any sort of art, we evaluate what we call, or what we have learned to say is proof of passion. And proof of passion actually is a term coined by Jonathan Glick and Tal Shachar. You guys know his blog. It's really good. But basically, the way that we define proof of passion is like, in order for an artist to scale, they must prove that there are people in the world that would love to be able to, you know, listen to their music, create their music, or buy their music, invest in their projects, and so on and so forth. And also, on the other hand, we talk about, you know, who are those people? Those people are, you know, speculators. Those people are so-called cool hunters, right? They want to find something cool. They want to find the new thing that's going to be popular, the new thing that's going to be innovative and different. And so, from that perspective, I just want to ask to both of you guys, what does your platform do that sort of facilitates cool hunters to come on and to allow the artists to be able to prove their, you know, the proof of passion concept throughout, you know, on your platform? Jesse, why don't we start with you?
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, that is it. That is the dream. Someone discovers an artist, and their taste, their knowledge, whatever it is, right, that gets them that insight into the fact that this artist's career is going somewhere. They need to be rewarded for that, right? And right now, of course, we're hoping for a secondary market, which is awesome. And God, I hope, you know, that works, you know, and that all forms a coherent ecosystem. But we're trying to force the issue a little bit and move to the next level and say, hey, people right now pay for streaming. It's a $50 billion industry. And we think that money should be distributed more equitably. So we want to pay out 90%. And then if someone comes along and they discover that song, they can buy an NFT of that song, and they get 90% of the 90%. We get 10% to the platform right when the streaming comes in, but 90% is paid out. And then when that artist takes their share and sells it, they still retain 10% forever, and they get 10% every time that NFT sells. And if these NFTs represent potentially years or decades of streaming revenue, 10% of that could be more than an entire year's streaming revenue quite easily, especially if people factor in growth in the platform and we have a deflationary token, and there are just, you know, so many ways that you can change things from what Spotify does. I mean, when I started getting into this, we adopted a stakeholder model, because Spotify is based on the shareholder model, right? Like, their responsibility is to return value to their shareholders above all else, right? But what we did in my white paper at clink.fm, if you'd like to check it out, is I enumerated all of the different stakeholders in the music industry and for a streaming service, starting with musicians, listeners, retail investors, and what we can do to do right by them. And I finally ended up, if we take care of the present and the future of music streaming, then we need to address the past. So I made the pledge that if we reach 5 million paying streaming subscribers, then we're going to take 20% of our revenue that we take in as a platform. We take in 5% of all transactions. We're going to reduce that to 4%, and we're going to take that 20% of what we were taking in and donate it to charities like the Jazz Foundation of America or others who are doing the work to help musicians who weren't compensated in the past. Thank you. That really means a lot to me.
And on Pianity, what we try to do, like related to proof of passion, I would say it at least two things. So first, our vision is to become completely decentralized, but we are decentralizing the platform little by little. The first thing we're going to decentralize in the future is the artist curation. So we don't want to be responsible for curation, because who are we to decide who's going to be the next artist that will be able to release on Pianity? We don't want to be a label, we don't want to be a major company, we just want to provide the tools for the community to decide. So in 2 weeks, we're gonna release this waitlist where all actually the fans will be able to vote for who they want to see next on Pianity. And this will enable and incentivize the artists to actually put the best of their work on Pianity and not, like just release a random NFT. Because before releasing, they will have, to go in front of the community and get enough votes to be released. So that's the first thing. And then related to proof of passion as well is basically the fact that we release NFTs. Like when you go on streaming platform, all you have is a number of followers, a number of likes for a track, but it's very, anonymous. It doesn't really tell anything, I think. But when someone really puts some money and actually put his name when he buys one of your NFTs, I think it has much more value. First, because you, as an artist, you can identify and you can really know who is following you and who is putting some money into what you're doing. And second, it allows you to actually build your community from there, and you can even start very small with only a few dozens of people, and then make it grow in order to increase the revenue you get from your work.
In the last minute and a half, my final question to you both is, what is the one thing that you are most excited about with music NFTs moving forward? Jesse.
Well, personally, I'm excited about unlocking that $50 billion for musicians.
I'm excited by the fact that very soon the musicians are not gonna earn between 15 to 25% of royalties, but probably between 70 and 90% of royalties. And that's gonna be a game changer for them.
Brilliant. For me, I have to say, what this space has brought is an abundance of opportunity, and even more than funding and end result in terms of financial. I think it's been really incredible to see an enormous family of interdisciplinary artists who are willing to collaborate and create new things. So not only are we creating a new financial system and a financial model to innovate the music industry, but we are actually also creating a new movement of music, which I think is going to just completely change. It's going to be a mix of hip hop, EDM, classical music, everything in between, jazz, and so on and so forth. And it is an incredibly exciting time to be in the space, to be able to witness that and be a part of it. Thank you both.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, guys.
You're the best. Thank you, guys.